the training that we now provide, where the training wasn't as adequate as what it is today, that we have equal training to all the other law enforcement across Pennsylvania. That was one of the standards put up, saying when we were coming to the table with the other entities across Pennsylvania and law enforcement, and I'm saying, well, you guys maybe should work on this, or you should try that, and we listened and we heard that, and so it's moved forward now for the training. A 19-week academy. What all is involved in that academy? 3 of us sitting here are instructors at that academy. So we have sheriffs that are back into the academy.
I touch base, I teach security. I touch base and do civil law, teaching different things in that realm. There's a lot of firearms, a lot of hard skills and soft skills. The thing for me is I went through 14 years ago that exact academy. And now when I go back and I teach it, it's not just an evolution in the way we teach. It's an evolution in what we teach. It's not so much about the topics. It's more about you're going to be a law enforcement officer in a complicated world. As a sheriff's deputy, it's a complicated world.
Sure.
Because 67 different counties, 67 different ways of doing things.
Yeah,
How often do we say that at the academy, right?
Yes.
And when you get back to your world, your county, you have to understand how things work. And that's where I think the training's important, because it's a basic training academy. That way, when you get your deputy back, the goal is that they have the basic understanding of the job, so that way they act morally, ethically, and they act to a professional standard that's expected of all 67 sheriffs.
Yes.
And then I'll teach you what you need to know in Franklin County.
Sure.
Sheriff Levindoski will teach you what you need to know in Tioga County, vice versa. Because every county is different. Some counties have 500 deputies, some have 3. Right. That's the spectrum, right? And that's what we're up here representing.
So I'm in my 24th year now as an instructor at the academy level. And it started with Act 120 municipal. And I got to tell you, I was shocked. When I came and got on board and started teaching with the Sheriff's Academy, I was truly surprised of the quality. It was, some was equal, but it also surpassed what we were teaching with Act 120. And that's not a knock on Act 120, don't get me wrong, but I just know from my experience and my opinion is that we are up there. It's a high quality academy. They get great instruction on every module that I've seen taught up there. Fantastic instructors, and it's second to none.
I think we got to understand too that education and training goes beyond that initial training at the academy. Absolutely. In my county, we're currently sponsoring a Spanish for law enforcement. We've had an influx of Spanish-speaking people. The sheriff's office, the DA's office, and the chiefs of police are jointly hosting Spanish for law enforcement. We're just getting into it. I've gotten nothing but positive feedback on it, and we've obviously opened it up to all law enforcement within our county. So we've got 25 people in a classroom from 12 different departments who are getting this training and receiving this training, and the benefit is great. We're also looking at moving into using the same structure to sponsor a class for First Amendment auditors and sovereign citizens. Yeah. Because I think that's a emerging issue for law enforcement these days. Yeah. Ben and I both hosted this past year training for response to active shooter, bringing people from outside the country to come in and train law enforcement. And again, we've opened that up to all law enforcement, right? Anybody who's
got a badge.
Class. Yeah. So you can't just stop at the academy. You got to continue that training.
I would agree, and we're in the same boat. We host a lot of different training sessions coming up with active shooter, urban search, search and rescue. We're bringing a lot of our other partners throughout the county and surrounding counties into this, and it's a partnership. You have to have these other entities to work together. And our cooperation relationship within our county, there's now an expectation on many of these scenes to go, hey, call the sheriff's office. Yeah. Do they have this available? Can they help us with this or give us manpower for this?
You have your drone team.
Canine available?
What about the SWAT team?
Right. Yes.
Every county's different.
Yeah, so we have, like we started out saying, a diverse group, and we really do. and we'll hear from some other sheriffs here shortly who came from that, who came from SRT or tactical, or and worked with their counties on things.
When I first came into office, I wasn't familiar with how the academy ran. I looked at the curriculum from the municipal side, and it's comparable and or better in some things. I think the big thing, what I find because of the situations that our deputies are confronted with, they're able to diffuse situations a little bit quicker and easier because it's a common thing. You're going to to serve that civil process, whether it's eviction or custody. They're very they could be the potential to be very volatile. Whereas on the municipal side, you're taking a report, and there's a little less personal interaction in a sense. It's not as personal. You're dealing, you're dealing with people that are possibly going to have their children removed, or they're going to be evicted from their home, and it takes a special person to be able to control the situation, and be able to communicate with that person and explain everything to them and what the process is. So again, I look at it from my 27 years versus the 3 years as in the sheriff's office. I find it more challenging from the sheriff's side than from the police side.
Yeah.
Yes.
I do as well.
Well, you say that as police, and I'm sure you didn't know it as much, and we're using a lot more police to help us, like on an eviction anymore, because some evictions are getting serious. People don't want thrown out of their house.
Right.
No.
Or,
Right,
they're leaving that day. I mean, they got to go. The time's expired. The appeal periods are up. And you bring some of these municipal police in, and they go, I never knew you did this.
Right.
And then they see people screaming at you, throwing stuff at you.
Yeah.
I mean,
No,
there's that
because
aspect.
The easiest thing was to say it was a civil issue.
Yeah,
Call the
right,
sheriff's
yeah,
office.
and I have that
we were
side.
gone, we were gone to the next call.
Yeah, we all do here.
Yep.
And now it's we're dealing with that civil side, and again I find it very challenging, and I'm very proud of the people that work for me, just because they're very good at being able to diffuse and communicate.
I've told my commissioners and people that I think sheriffs sometimes see more than a municipal cop could see in a year, we might see in a week.
Yes.
Just because of the stuff we do
Yep.
Right.
across the board.
We've had that talk with commissioners trying to educate of what we do, because they don't know. A lot of people don't realize what all we are responsible for. And we've had folks where they've said, well, you're not the police. I know we're not the police. I never said I was. What I will tell you is that we do a lot of the same functions and deal with the same people, and to go a step further, that I will be willing to bet anybody that our folks put more hands on and more handcuffs on more people on a weekly basis than the rest of the county combined
Absolutely
of
right.
all the law enforcement, other law enforcement agencies. And that's where it falls into the risk factor, and sometimes the frustration of not always being considered as an equal or looked at a level equal to what should be respected. And we fight that battle all the time. And a lot of that has to do with how sometimes maybe prior to us being here, how things were handled, or how they were being presented. And I know across the nation, everybody's being held at a higher standard, and everybody in the Commonwealth that I've come across is also holding their offices at a higher level, a more professional level. And we have that. We have the standards there, and we are those professional law enforcement entities. And so for that, trying to educate even down to some of our elected officials that we work with, and saying, listen, I have professional men and women who take an oath, who are sworn, so they're not security guards. They're not, don't look lesser at them, don't talk down to them.
Training every year.
Who need the training, who go through a lot of risks, sometimes more risks than a lot of the everyday beat cops. And they're all risk positions, all of them. Yeah. But realizing how much risk actually goes into being a deputy sheriff or a sheriff, and again, part of the role of this was trying to educate people so that they realize that, because it's important that people need to know that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, another piece to that too, Jim, is again, we go back to what the public doesn't realize what we do, and some of what we do and what we see that we're responsible for. And I can just think of one example of an eviction, because we mentioned eviction several times. You know, going to these homes that we have to go in. So if we're evicting someone, they're coming out, we have to go in and clear the residence, and we get exposed to a lot of different negative things. I know one in particular, we had to get this couple out. We walked in, there was dog feces and urine all over the place. It was like a hoarding situation. It was awful. Like hazmat speaking, it was terrible. And then out in the barn, they had a horse that had passed away. They had and a couple other animals that were in the barn dead. You know, and this is all stuff because we have to clear those structures.
Sure.
We have to make sure there's nobody else there to turn it over to the new, whether it's a landlord situation or a new owner.
And bringing the
after a
animal
sale.
officers in anymore.
We have to
that's
bring
a
them
lot.
in.
You're seeing that.
Yes, there's a lot more there than what people realize.
Yes.
In the things that we see
Yep.
on that, where again, municipal didn't have to deal with that.
Right.
Yep.